Hello, welcome back to IT Landing Nugget course. This is the last session for B2C, and this time what we're going to do, we're going to cover the interaction, some examples on how the B2C directory interact with others. Without further ado, let's we jump into using Graph API. So what's a Graph API or Graph? It's a RESTful interface to Microsoft Azure AD. Tenant specific query are scoped and stored within the tenant itself. We are using programmatic access to the directory objects such as users, email, tenant ID, and so on attributes. Access relationship member membership as well. It requires standard HTTP method like get, post, patch, delete, create, update, response, support JSON, XML standard, and is compatible with OData version 3. Auth2 access authorization role-based assignment for user is using the same method, which is the graph. What are the scenarios? Reading, returning audit reports, making authorization decision, implement people, group, picker, list, so on. Writing, updating user attribute. This is a crucial part. Password and provisioning. Some of these examples. Using Graph API REST interface to add user. Option 1, add user as an email address. I'm doing a post request. If you remember earlier, Graph Windows, insert tenant ID. For example, itlendy.onmicrosoft.com. User API version, remember the beta, I need to update the email. Type email address, value, username, password, disable password expiration, and post the request. Make sure when you go into production, the API version needs to be updated. Yes, I'm just using here what? Version equal beta, but I need to be a production. Example number 2. If I would like to add a user, same post, targeting the same API. This time, I'm using alternative sign-in name info. Type username, not email address, and I provide the value. Yeah. Next, adding a user again. We still do the post, but this time I'm adding additional like audit data and information related to the user itself, like disable password expired, name, context, and so on. And then we can do get user this time, not pushing post. This time I'm doing get. Same thing, get, you add your domain and make sure the version is correct. And then you can add the David or John Smith or whatever it is using by username, yeah, or email address. Yeah. And then in the example, using the retain audit data with same get audit API call. So these are some basic examples. Now the migration approach, what we can utilize, like custom store ID password in LDAP, social provider, Facebook, Google, Amazon, LinkedIn, codes or OSS. Approaches for this transition using dual write and force password change on existing SSR or SSPR page. Transition using graph for password changes. Transition by querying new signup and then product may require. The implication, a dual write approach could be utilized to coexist strategy. For the signup management, this scenario does not support social identity. So what we have to do, SSPR will be available with customized information. Existing application will require modification. Features such as token other may not be available. And last is the WordPress plugin, for example, might be required as a backend database associated with the new identity. So in a nutshell, this brings up a question about password complexity and the difference between systems. So self-service password reset, SSPR, would custom and use graph API call. Again, there are some of the nice GitHub WordPress plugin which can allow you to do this. And you can use the Graph API to create user, update user, authenticate, and authorized. That will bring us to the end. Hopefully, we have learned something useful. Thank you for watching, and goodbye with another session.